Every street has one house people notice without meaning to. On Maple Row, it was the small blue house at the end of the block. Not because of the paint, not because of the flowers, but because of the old man who lived there and the small habit he never explained. His name was Mr. Harris. Every morning before leaving the house, he stood beside a small wooden table near the front door. On that table rested 3 sets of keys. He picked up the first, then the second, then the third. He counted softly. 1, 2, 3. Only then did he slide them into his coat pocket and leave. Every evening he did the same thing in reverse. He placed each key ring back on the table. 1, 2, 3. If one wasn't exactly where he expected, he searched the house until he found it. Only then would he go to bed. No one knew why. Eventually, nobody asked anymore. It became one of those things neighbors simply accepted. That's just Mr. Harris. His life was wonderfully ordinary. Every Tuesday, he bought bread and eggs from the same grocery store. Every Wednesday afternoon, he sat at the same table in the library, quietly reading the newspaper. Every Saturday morning, he fed ducks at the pond with bread crusts he had saved all week. On the wall of his living room hung an old photograph of a much younger Mr. Harris standing beside a fire truck. Most visitors barely noticed it. If they did, he'd simply smile and say, "Long time ago." Then he'd change the subject. One October afternoon, his neighbor Lily helped him move an old bookshelf. Afterward, Mr. Harris walked toward a wooden hook beside the fireplace to hang up his jacket. 2 dusty key rings already hung there, covered in cobwebs, untouched for years. He smiled at them. "My wife's keys." Lily nodded. Then her eyes drifted toward the hallway table. 3 more key rings sat exactly where they always did. She frowned. "Wait, if those are your wife's, whose are those?" Mr. Harris looked toward the table, then quietly filled the kettle. "Just old keys." He never looked back. The conversation ended there, but the question stayed with Lily. Thanksgiving arrived. His son Daniel flew home like he did every year. While setting the table, he... "Dad, you're still carrying those 3 key rings?" "Every day. You know 2 of them probably don't open anything anymore." Mr. Harris buttered his bread. "I know." "So why keep carrying them?" Mr. Harris looked out the kitchen window. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he smiled. Some questions stop needing answers after enough years. Daniel chuckled. You always did know how to avoid a question. His father only smiled. The subject quietly disappeared. Winter came. Nothing changed. Every morning, 1, 2, 3. Every evening, 1, 2, 3. The ritual became invisible, like the ticking of an old clock. Until one rainy Thursday afternoon, Mr. Harris collapsed while shopping for groceries. The doctors said it wasn't serious. Exhaustion, dehydration, age. They wanted to keep him overnight. The hospital called Daniel. "Could you bring your father's wallet, phone, and his keys?" That evening, Daniel unlocked the quiet little house. For the first time in his life, his father wasn't there first. The silence felt unfamiliar. He walked to the hallway table. The 3 key rings were waiting. He picked them up. Without thinking, he almost counted them. He stopped himself, then slipped them into his pocket. After gathering his father's things, Daniel looked around the house. Something pulled him toward the hall closet, the one his father never let anyone organize. Inside were old family photo albums, Christmas decorations, tax records, a broken wristwatch, his mother's handwritten recipes. Nothing unusual. Near the bottom sat an old framed photograph. His father, standing proudly beside a fire engine. Daniel smiled. "I forgot you were a firefighter." He set it aside. He kept searching. Another box, old insurance papers, birthday cards, receipts. Still nothing. Hours passed. Just when he was about to give up, he found a folded newspaper clipping. The headline read, "Firefighter saves child from apartment fire." His father filled the photograph, covered in soot, holding a little girl wrapped in a blanket. Behind the clipping, tucked into the same envelope, was a worn letter. It began, "Mr. Harris, if you're reading this, then I probably didn't get the chance to thank you myself." The letter was from the little girl's father. He had survived the fire, but smoke damage slowly destroyed his lungs. Months later, knowing his time was short, he visited Mr. Harris one last time. He handed him a spare apartment key. "I don't have anyone else. If I can't be here, please make sure my daughter always has somewhere to come home to." Mr. Harris gave him his word. Nothing was signed, no lawyers, no witnesses, just one quiet promise. The father died 6 months later. The little girl entered foster care. Mr. Harris never tried to replace her father. He never asked for recognition. He simply kept his promise. Daniel found old roof repair receipts, the same apartment address, paid in cash, years apart. Then another receipt, then another. Property taxes, emergency plumbing, broken windows. Different years, the same address. For nearly 3 decades, his father quietly made sure that apartment survived. No one knew, not even the little girl. When she finally inherited the apartment as an adult, she believed her father had somehow managed to leave her a home. Years later, she sold it and moved away. She never learned Mr. Harris's name. She never needed to. The promise had already done what it was meant to do. Daniel sat alone for a long time. Then he finally understood something. The apartment was gone. The building had been demolished years earlier. The lock no longer existed. The 3rd key opened nothing. Yet his father still carried it every single day. 2 days later, Mr. Harris came home. Without a word, Daniel placed the 3 key rings back onto the hallway table, exactly where they belonged. His father smiled. He picked up the first. 1. The second. 2. The third. 3. Daniel watched quietly. "Dad, Why didn't you ever tell her?" Mr. Harris turned the old brass key between his fingers. After a long silence, he answered, "Because the promise wasn't for her." Daniel looked puzzled. Mr. Harris smiled. "She deserved a home, but I needed something too. I needed to become the kind of man who never walked away from his word." The kettle began to whistle. He slipped the third key into his pocket, picked up the other two, and quietly walked into the kitchen. Nothing more needed to be said. Months later, Daniel stood in his own hallway getting ready for work. Wallet, phone, keys. He emptied his pockets onto a small table. For a moment, he looked at the scattered key rings. Then, almost without thinking, he lined them up. 1, 2, 3. He smiled, not because he had inherited his father's habit, but because he finally understood it. Sometimes the objects we keep aren't reminders of the past. They're reminders of the person we've chosen to become. Mr. Harris never carried that third key because he believed it would open another door. He carried it because every morning it quietly asked him the same question: "Are you still the man who keeps his word?" And every morning, he answered the same way: by picking it up.